According to this commission of the department physical plant, according to this report of the commission, the department's physical plant consists of more than 586,000 real property records, buildings, structures, utilities, located at more than 5,500 locations on more than 120,000 square kilometers around the world. The majority of the 800 larger installations outside the US territory are located in Germany, 302, in Japan, 111, South Korea, 106, and the rest are spread out in the rest of the countries. The Time, the magazine, has referred that US bases are spread out in 163 countries. In other words, they are spread out in 80% of the Earth's countries. Of course, our friends in the US, friends in quotes in the case of the US administration, have not their bases here and there just for fun. Decades now, the US have divided the world in 4 enormous military commands. The first, the European Command, which is responsible for Europe and Africa. Second, the Central Command that includes Central Asia, Arabian Peninsula, Iraq, and the Horn of Africa. Third, the Pacific Command includes remaining parts of Asia, China, Japan. And the fourth, the South Command, which is responsible for Latin America. You see, they have divided the world in their spheres, in the spheres of their own influence, competing, of course, in all this with other imperialist forces and centers, by the way. On NATO and the European Union. In April '99, there was the famous summit of NATO in Washington, celebrating their 50 years. Don't forget that NATO was the first to be established in whatsoever competition in the world during the so-called Cold War. In the middle of that dirty war against Yugoslavia, they took serious decisions, while bombing and killing people in Yugoslavia, they took serious decisions for their, the redefinition of their role and character of NATO, signed by all. This means everybody who participated in NATO is co-responsible. They announced their aims, their missions, and the way they were going to proceed. They sought new friends amongst ex-enemies, asking them for partnership for peace, and so on. Washington Summit also established conditions on NATO and European Union cooperation in the field of the European security and defense policy, the famous ESDP. They are equal. There may be differences, like NATO or the US have the lead in the military field. European Union is following in this field. But at the same time, the terminology, if you look at the NATO papers and at the European Union Constitution, the so-called Constitution, which has been rejected, should be already dead, but it continues being on the table, although it has been rejected in France and Holland. The terminology is day by day more and more the same. The European Union is considering the terrorism as the biggest threat to humanity, and thus they have to do this and this and this, what they are doing, militarization, European Union army and so on. The same what NATO is doing, and so on. Let me go, in order to be in time, to the last part before concluding. Look at how NATO and how European Union is supposed to, the one is a political organism, the European Union, NATO, a military organism, and of course an aggressive war machine. The NATO is organizing NATO response forces, NRF, and the European Union battle groups. The one is responsible, has a mandate in Afghanistan, the other in Kosovo. Don't be surprised if tomorrow part of the troops of the US will withdraw from Iraq and NATO will follow. Because NATO is being introduced in the UN system as a security mechanism. They wash NATO clean from all their crimes in the last 50 years, bringing them into the UN as peacekeeping troops tomorrow. They will not have to wear different color of helmets, the blue helmets. They will go with the NATO helmets as peacekeeping troops.